Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is honestly gonna blow your mind. We are setting the stage for a truly incredible journey through some profound Eastern philosophy, deep theology, and, well, the ultimate destiny of the universe itself. All of this is based on some fascinating ancient texts and doctrines. If you have ever wondered how the visible and invisible worlds interact to shape our everyday lives, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. We've got to start with a universal question, right? It's one that has frustrated humanity for literally millennia. Why do good people suffer while bad people seem to just prosper? We see it all the time. Someone lives a perfectly moral, kind life but faces constant hardship, while someone else who acts terribly just seems to have all the luck in the world. Well, the source material we're exploring today points out that our inability to answer this question actually stems from our complete ignorance of the unseen world. We are essentially trying to solve a giant cosmic puzzle, but we have half the pieces missing. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our cognitive roadmap for today's explainer. We'll journey through 5 distinct phases. First, the invisible yin world. Second, the incalculable spirit world. Third, local gods and guardians. Fourth, crucial differences between gods and humans. And finally, universal completion. Let's kick things off with part 1, the invisible yin world. So, according to the source texts, absolutely everything in the universe starts out in the invisible yin world, before it ever manifests in our visible yang world. Think of it like day and night. They aren't totally separate things, right? They are constantly influencing each other. If you work super hard during the day, that's the yang, you're going to sleep well at night, the yin. And then a good night's sleep fuels your next day. Just like this natural cycle, our present visible fortunes are deeply tied to the unseen yin world. And that includes the spiritual debts and blessings of our ancestors, which is also known as karma. You literally can't just look at a person's present actions in the visible yang world and expect to understand their fate. You have to look at the yin. When we only look at the physical world, life seems completely random, maybe even totally unfair. We just shrug our shoulders and call things a coincidence. But the text argues something super profound here. Coincidence is really just a word we use when we are ignoring the yin half of the universe. Once you actually acknowledge that the yin world exists, what seemed completely random suddenly reveals itself as a perfectly balanced system of spiritual debts being paid and ancestral blessings being received. That brings us straight to part 2, the incalculable spirit world. Now, what's really interesting about this is trying to figure out what exactly is inside this unseen yin world. Well, prepare yourself, because according to the texts, it is way more crowded than we think. To understand the sheer shocking scale of animism and divinity being taught here, the source material quotes this amazing teaching. There are spirits, even blades of grass and mud walls. Grass is living, sure, but a mud wall, that's inanimate dirt. This really illustrates a universe that is just completely saturated with spiritual presence. It totally shatters that simple idea we might have of an empty sky with just a few isolated angels floating around. And to further break down our assumptions, the sources point to a famous Goryeo Dynasty Buddhist painting called a Tengwa. This single painting depicts exactly 15,000 distinct Buddhas. Yes, 15,000. It's kind of like the ultimate cosmic DMV, but vastly more efficient. For anyone raised with a Western assumption of a single, solitary deity, this completely shatters that framework. The spirit realm isn't some lonely throne room. It's a bustling, infinite universe filled with highly specialized divine beings. Let's actually look at the textual evidence for this. In this excerpt from the ancient Agama Sutra, a high-ranking Brahmin approaches Gautama Buddha and asks him a very direct question. He says, how many Buddhas will there be in the future, and how many have there been in the past? The guy is basically trying to figure out the exact math of the divine realm. The Buddha's reply is just staggering. He says, future and past Buddhas are as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River. Let that sink in for a second. The sands of a massive river. This visual metaphor perfectly cements the idea that the spirit realm is an infinitely vast bureaucracy. It's packed with countless experts, deities, and spirits, and they all have their own specific roles and jurisdictions. So, if there are as many gods as grains of sand, how on earth is this all organized? Let's get into part 3, local gods and guardians. And this brilliantly illustrates how it all works. This massive cosmic administration is meticulously organized by geography and culture. Almost every major culture's mythology actually maps out legitimate local gods who govern those specific jurisdictions. For Korea, it's Dongun. For Japan, Amaterasu. In India, it's Indra. In Israel, Yahweh. For the Greeks, Zeus. And for the Vikings, Odin. These aren't just competing fairy tales, guys. According to the source, these are actual regional spiritual governors, and they are all operating under a much larger cosmic umbrella. Because it's in administration, there is a very strict hierarchy at play. At the very top is the supreme god of the universe. Underneath that, you have the local guardian gods of different nations. And finally, right at the foundational level, your own direct ancestral spirits. The texts actually offer a pretty stern warning here. Prioritizing another culture's local god over your own local guardians and your own ancestors is literally like cutting the roots off a tree. If you want to thrive, you have to respect the natural spiritual order and honor your direct ancestral lineage first. Now we're going to pivot to the real core of our explainer. Part 4. Crucial differences. Gods versus humans. How do these countless divine beings actually differ from us mortal humans? The source texts break this down using two really fascinating concepts, Myung and Zhong. Gods are characterized by Myung, which translates to bright truth, absolute expertise, and total decisiveness. They are flawless cosmic specialists. Humans, on the flip side, are characterized by Zhong, which means deep emotion, familial connection, and empathy. Because humans have this Zhong, we're often messy and indecisive, but we're also incredibly loving and deeply bound to one another. This distinction actually maps perfectly onto cosmic forces. The text align the gods with the season of autumn, the direction of the west, and the element of solid metal. They are firm, unyielding, and incredibly precise. Humans, meanwhile, are aligned with spring, the east, and melted metal. We are fluid, constantly changing, and inherently warm. So the crucial point is this. Because gods are like solid metal, rigid, absolutely decisive experts, they actually have a massive flaw. Think about it. Solid pieces of metal cannot easily fuse together. Because they are so highly specialized and unwavering in their specific truths, the source notes that gods really struggle with unity and flexibility. They are absolutely brilliant on their own, individually, but they can't easily blend together. But humans? We are melted metal. Human emotion and empathy, our Zhong, gives us this unique, formidable power. Even though we might be totally indecisive sometimes and lack the flawless, crisp expertise of the gods, our emotional warmth acts as a cosmic binding agent. Melted metal can break down barriers, flow into all the little cracks, and bind completely different rigid elements into one unified, unbreakable alloy. And that brings us to the ultimate climax of our philosophical journey. Part 5. Universal completion through divine human harmony. You see, the rigid brilliance of the gods and the messy empathy of humans aren't just different from each other, they desperately need each other in order to evolve the universe. The source material introduces this concept of Shin and Johua, which translates to the harmony of gods and humans. This is the ultimate management strategy for the cosmos. It's a perfect symbiosis where the strengths of one completely compensate for the weaknesses of the other. It is the grand synthesis of the visible and invisible worlds working as one. Let's move to the next slide and see how this builds into the perfect partnership. In step 1, the gods bring their Myung, that flawless execution, absolute truth, and technical mastery over the universe. Then in step 2, humans bring their Zhong, our emotional unity, our adaptability, and our capacity to actually lead and harmonize. So the gods do the highly specialized work, but human empathy provides the unifying leadership to ensure the whole thing holds together. According to the texts, we are currently living through a massive evolutionary leap. We are transitioning out of a mere global era here on Earth, and we are stepping into a universal era. And in this new era, the universe can no longer be run by the isolated, rigid expertise of the gods alone. It absolutely requires Shin and Johua, that active, equal partnership of divine capability guided by human empathy. Which leaves us with a truly incredible thought to end on. We so often look up at the sky feeling super small and just begging the heavens for help. But this philosophy completely flips the script. The heavens actually need us. If the flawless, unseen gods genuinely require our messy, emotional, melted metal humanity to finally perfect the universe, what is your role in this new universal era? Something to think about. Thanks so much for learning with me today in this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.